Good evening and welcome to the Black Crow podcast Meta Mondays. I'm Toby. Unfortunately, we haven't got Aaron with us today. He's feeling a little bit sick, but he is in the background. So hopefully he'll pop up with some rather funny photos at some point. But I am joined today by our regular co-host, Dom Maidlow. Say hi, Dom.
Hey, how's it going?
Also, cheers for coming on. And then we have got the wonderful and rather well-known for playing Dirty Eldari lists, Dan Bates with us tonight.
Hey, well-known. Well, no, I'm not well-known.
Yeah, well. I mean, I'm sure most people have heard the name Glasshammer before.
Yeah, I'm the Excel monkey in the background of Glasshammer. I'm not the face at the front of it.
No, well, I mean, I guess, yeah, a lot of people will know your teammate the previous guest that we had on, Manny Chima, of course, as well, from Glasshammer. But today we're not going to talk about Manny because we don't want to give you flashbacks to, what was it, 55 points?
Flashbacks. Oh, mate. That's been the last 5 years of my life.
Honestly, I saw as soon as Manny started talking about how the game had gone, I was like, this wasn't good for Dan. This wasn't good for Dan at all. I was like, you know what? At least the guy made it to a finals. I couldn't even make it out of 3-2. But equally, well done. Huge well done. Because what you did was you took a list that I don't think anyone was really expecting to see as much. I don't think going after the data set anyone was really going, Ynnari, yeah, they're going to be spot on because of quite a few reasons that we've already discussed. But before we come onto your list, we're going to go through a little bit of some of the wonderful photos, and to commemorate your incredible second place at the Northampton GT, we even have a lovely little photo of you mid-battle that I took as we were playing. And it should flash up in a moment. There we go. Look at you in mid-battle. Wow. Look at that majestic Dan. That's definitely not photoshopped.
That's a good angle. I'm looking slim there, aren't I?
Look at the majesticness. And look at that hair, Dan, man. He likes to put a nice little wig on before he goes out and plays his GTs. But yeah. So, I mean, well, we're going to start off by playing a bit of a caption competition then, I think, fellas. So, Dom, have you got anything for this beautiful little rendition?
I mean, I always think Dan's more of a Viking, so I was expecting maybe like braids and stuff like that. But you can go with a sexy elf if you want.
Space wolves suck, though, don't they? Really? No. I'll stick with a sexy Eldar. It's fine.
So now we need to change your tournament name to Dan Sexy Eldar Bates. That's the new start we'll have. Well, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to get straight into it. We're going to talk about the list. So Dan, do you want to kick us off by talking about your list building process, how you kind of came to this MSU build, and what the actual list is?
Yeah, so like I've been playing MSU Eldar since like the whole of 9th edition. It was MSU Eldar and stuff like that. So when it came to this edition, and we first started testing a few lists, like I was just trying all these different things. And I remember I was playing David right against his knights when I first went, Wraithguard look quite cool, you know what I mean? Like let's see what they can do. And we were playing outside because it was quite warm and stuff like that. And then this Wraithguard unit just destroyed his whole army. It just went through an entire knight army by itself. And he was like, "Oh, this is so stupid. This is so dumb." Like it upset him so much, and I was like, "Oh yeah, these guys are cool." Because like you could I would shoot something, and then he would shoot the unit, and then I would kill something else and shoot and kill something else, and then it was the moment that I figured out you could charge something, and then once he hit me, I was like, "Did you just target me with an attack?" I was like, "I'm pretty sure you did." And then blew up a knight in combat, and it was that was quite funny. But anyway, it was always kind of MSU. But then unfortunately, that kind of Wraithguard build just kind of took over, didn't it? And the team forced me to. I say the team, Manny forced me in a team tournament to take 20 Wraithguard. And it was the most boring weekend of my life. Like, luckily, I took a box of mango cider with me to keep myself entertained, because otherwise I would have just died of boredom. It was just, and I was like, yeah, I'm never doing this again. This is not why I play Eldar. So, before this data slate, I was like, my Eldar list was like 2 Warwalkers, 2 Void Weavers, Viper, 10 Scorpions and Karandras, because that unit is baller with the old Phantasm. Like all these kind of little, like a unit of spiders and stuff like that. So it's always been kind of the way I enjoy playing. But the problem is that list, although it did, the damage that it did was insane. But whenever I hit that old, Incarn, 10 Wraithguard, 3 Night Spinners, it didn't matter what I did. I just kept getting nailed by it all the time. Like, there was one dice spike from a Night Spinner. Goes, oh yeah, sorry mate, I've just killed those 4 Warp Spiders, so I'll just put the Incarn there, and then that Incarn's going to flame that unit of Hawks dead, and then I'm going to charge into the 2 Warwalkers, and they're dead now as well, I'm afraid. And it just all went to So I just couldn't get past that list. So once that was gone, and so it kind of, the MSU now I think is the strongest build in Eldar, and I think it's really, really powerful. It was the only thing really you have to get around is the fact of primaries, because you will max your secondaries, like you just will, and so it's a case of holding 10 primaries in a turn. If you can do that, then fine. So like I started with using the Avatar. I was like, I'll use the Avatar to bully primaries, and then score secondaries around it. And although he's great and he's very hard to kill and stuff, he's only OC3. So I'd stand him on an objective, and then 4 cultists would run over and go, no, you're down to 5 primaries again. So that's why I had to drop him. So I replaced him with the Wraithblades. Just as I was like, I don't want them to do anything. I just want them to be tough. And like there's a lot of stuff in the game that kills that Wraithguard stat now. That T7 3 wounds. Lots of people know that they've got to get through that. But as soon as you slap a 4-up invuln on it, like those odds swing massively. Like it's so tough to kill. It's so cool. So I did that, and then the D cannons. I thought I'm going to put 3 D cannons in to defend my Wraithguard. So I'm like, if you want to come over here and take this unit down, which is a tough ask anyway, you've got to come through 3 D cannons. Yeah. And then I played a couple of games to them, and I was like, oh man, this is insane. Like the damage the D cannons were doing were mental, and I was like, why have I not been taking 3D cannons? Like it's weird how as soon as Night Spinners go up 30 points, they just become an absolute bargain. Yeah, it's really strange how that works out, but they're wicked for 125 points, and they kind of came into it naturally, and then I like the whole shoot and scoot idea of the Shadow Spectres. And then obviously I learned that the Scourges had the same, so I was like, awesome! Like 6 units jumping out of turn, jumping out, shooting, coming back in.
So fast, and you can just push screens out if you need.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. So the Scourges are sick. They're amazing for 110 points. Earn their points back every game, and then the fact that they get the Aeldari reroll to hit and wound just makes them better than Dark Eldar Scourges, which is quite comical. But I mean, so they're very good. But the Shadow Spectres are actually quite disappointing when it comes to doing any damage or anything like that. But the movement shenanigans with them is just class. Like people just don't realise that they can move 30 inches a turn and still pump out some flat 3 damage shots. So that's what I think they're powerful for, really. So then, after that, it was just plug in a few MSU units to go and score the mission, right? Make sure you got an infiltrating unit in case you play World Eaters, because otherwise you're just going to get clattered off the board turn 1. And then Bob's your uncle.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that summed it up really nicely. What was the process though? Because you mentioned Scourges and how they are just straight better in Eldari, which I think will upset Darren if he's in chat, bless him, because he's our Dark Eldar.
Well. Sorry.
Yeah, I think there's just been if every Dark Eldar group chat has just gone, oh, just spontaneously. But I mean, honestly, I think it's probably fair to say that change is slightly better for them. But what process did you go through? Was it literally just, I like how Shadow Spectres do it, let's give them all las cannons and see how it goes?
Yeah, so I mean, like before in my list, I was using Void Weavers and War Walkers, and then I had a little Viper going with them around at the back for the ignores cover, and the damage that could put out, it's so deceptively insane on what it can kill. Like I remember I was playing World Eaters the once, and then he had like I think it was 3 8-bound or 5 8-bound or something in the middle of the board, and I was like, yeah, okay, they need to die because they can advance and charge next turn. And I killed them, and I was like, oh, well, just with what I've got left, I'll shoot Angron. Let's kind of thin him down a bit and see if I can kill him in a later turn. And then he just died. Like, just on what I had left, like after the A-man. And just kind of the amount of damage that list could do. So basically, Scourges are War Walkers, and they averagely get the 2 hits, like the War Walkers would.
Yeah.
But you've got that chance to spike, to spike up and go 3, maybe 4 hits with the lances. So yeah, they're just better. And like I said, War Walkers are tough with the 4 up invunder and the -1 to wound. But it doesn't get any tougher than you can't see me, so you can't shoot me.
Did you ever think about putting heat lances on instead?
No, because because it's the range is like the most powerful thing on the Scourges. The fact that they can threaten so much stuff with their move as well. So it's the range is the best thing. So I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, you should take some haywire and stuff like that," but I just don't see the point. The moment you lose 12 inches of range, and then if you want to shoot anything that's not a vehicle, they become pretty much completely useless. I just don't. I don't know why you would ever do it. I don't see the advantage to ever taking anything other than lances.
Yeah, they are good. I suppose the only benefit is like you can advance and shoot them, and there's a bit more trickery for movement there. But I do like the lances. I do like the lances indeed. So your list was quite an interesting one because you got your hardcore like primary holders, which you're using your big D cannons as like a keep away unit, being like stay away, just stay where you are. I'm going to keep you there, and I'm going to get my primary scoring secondaries all over the place with all your fast moving units. Were there any like matchups going into the event that you were quite concerned with?
So guard, obviously the guard list doing the rounds with all the out of line of sight shooting and stuff like that. So I've kind of got a game plan. I've not played guard. I haven't played the matchup yet, and I've got a game plan, which is like basically go first with anyone's game plan to guard, because the moment you don't, you've just lost anyway. But yeah, it kind of I'm thinking put the D cannons in strat reserve. And then go line up. Every kind of terrain thing has a big L, so that's where the Manticores are going, and the Basilisks. They're going beyond the because they always will. Put the Wraith Guard on the opposite end of that. Go first. Use a Fate dice to auto 6 their advance, and just go straight forward. And then try and build that little bubble of these decans are going to come in turn 2, and hopefully kill two Manticores, and obviously the Scourge as well in Deep Strike, and just try and catch an angle. Try and do that, and then turn 1. If you've got anything on the board that you can kill those Sentinels with, just murder Sentinels, because obviously that's what's buffing them all the time. And so I'm not sure if those Manticores will kill that unit of Wraithblades. I don't think they do.
Is it is it unit of 10 or unit of 5?
Unit of 10.
No, they won't. No way.
So so because that you make sure because you've got you've got that auto advance, and you've got Phantasm as well, and they don't the Sentinel doesn't do its I ignore everything until the start of the shooting phase, so you can try and Phantasm out the way if it does catch an angle onto one of them or something like that, and then your Manticores are hitting on 3s with 4 rerolls, and then wounded on 3s, but then you've still got your 3 up or 4 up or whatever it is, and you've got your Fate dice, you've got a CP reroll on your in run. I just don't think they kill it, and then then you spawn one another Wraith Guard 2 inches forward and just bomb rush towards that elf. Like I said, I haven't played the matchup. I don't know if it works or not, but that's my game plan anyway.
Yeah, fair. So guards one. What other? So you got basically you didn't like the idea of the mass indirect lists. What other?
Yeah,
what
for God. And then the other nightmare is Grey Knights. Grey Knights.
Oh, their trickery
sucks so much because they've got that 3-inch deep strike strat. That it just hurts Eldar so much because they come in with that unit that's got all those shots and the flamers
the
or whatever.
anti-infantry ones. Yeah,
was it the Crow and what the unit's called?
Castellan Crow.
Yeah, Crow and the Incinerators or something like that.
Yeah, Interceptors, something like that.
No, Purifiers.
Purifiers, yeah. That's the one. Purifiers, yeah. And they just go, yeah, okay, these 2 Hawk units are dead, and then I'm going to take a massive chunk out of that Warp Spider unit over there. And then if they make a 9-inch charge into something, the moment that you move away, they then bugger off.
I know.
And it's like it's a horrible unit. And you've got to if you're gonna even give Grey Knights a game, I feel you've got to get the right mission, and you've got to have the dice go your way.
Yeah.
And you've got to screen like that. You've got to have the best screening game of your life. Because you make one mistake and that's it. You'll lose 3 units, and it's horrible.
What we're going to do quickly is I'm just going to run through the entire list, and this one's particularly for you guys, of where if I say something, think about it, and then we'll pop out any ideas or anything that we think might be interesting. So particularly for you, Dom, if you go, that's weird that's in there. Okay, so we've got
Scourge.
we got Scourges. What are they doing there? Spirit Seer. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yvraine, which I think we will talk about shortly. 3 units of 5 Spectres, as we've discussed. Shroud Runners, which I think is an interesting one. The Triple D Cannons, 2 Swooping Hawks, a troop.
Yeah.
Warp Spiders, Wraith Blades, Mandrakes, and then Triple Scourges.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great list. I love the Mandrakes because people who don't play Drukhari, at the end of their turn, they're like the assassins that just go up in the sky. So they just go up and down and up and down. And their shooting and combat is actually pretty good, because they're like strength 5, AP 1 or whatever, the AP 2 or whatever they are, with their shooting and in combat. But their shooting also does their injuries.
They're AP nothing in combat.
What?
Yeah, they're a bit rubbish in combat. I'm pretty sure they're AP nothing.
Oh, maybe it was the strength 5.
Just strength 5, yeah. But so the Mandrake, the reason why I went with the Mandrakes, because they're 10 points more than Rangers. And Rangers do exactly the same job. You have to have that one infiltrating unit in case you play the World Eaters game. That's all they're there for. Yeah. But you pay 10 points to give them the Swooping Hawk rule. Is effectively what's happening, which I think is worth 10 points. If anybody, if you don't have to go forward and screen with them, they're just another unit that is being picked up at the end of the turn, and then you're drawing your cards and going, cool, yeah, I'll go there, and then I'll score 5 points on that. I love that special rule, the fact they've got the same as the Hawks. So that's why I took them over the unit of Rangers.
Yeah, I like that. And Yvraine with the big troop unit, is it?
Oh, right. So that unit, people don't rate that unit, and it's amazing. So good. It's just right. So I didn't like Yvraine, and so the first time I was practicing the list, I was taking a unit of 11 troop with Yvraine and the Vizark for the fights first.
Wow.
And then and I was like, yeah, I've got this big scary fights first unit in the middle of the board. And then I think I was playing a practice game with Manny against World Eaters, and then he was like, oh man, that unit's fighting first, man. Oh, I can't believe it. And then eventually he charged it, and they killed like 1 8-pound. they were rubbish, and then they all just died. And I was like, oh, okay, then why am I giving fights first to this unit of just wetters with little elf wrists that can't do anything? It was so that was a bit pointless. But so Yvraine with the 6, they've got this. She's got this really cool rule where she gives them a 5 feel no pain on top of their 4 up inborn, which kind of makes them innately tougher than people think. And then she on a 2+, she reses D3 models in the command phase. So what you do is there's a lot of, especially in the UKTC, you know, in the middle, you've got that L that sits off the objective. So you sit in the middle of that L.
You have primary, do you?
Yeah, and you just put a Harlequin on there, and you go, cool, right. So if you put anything on it, I'm going to shoot the crap out of it because it's in range of 3D cannons, and I can see one of them, so I'm going to nail it with a unit of Spectres first as well. But if you don't, I'm going to get 15 primary. But then if you just shoot one, I'll just take that one, and on a 2+, I get 15 primary anyway because I'll just res him back on the objective. So
really
like,
good.
so they're really cool for that. But then the other thing is they're pretty tough, you know. So I was playing a World Eaters player in a tournament, and then they drew Assassinate, and I was like, well, yeah, you ain't getting through the Wraith Blades, so your only sort of chance is Yvraine and the Harlequins. And he was like, right, yeah, okay then. So he goes in there, and luckily for me, he failed a charge elsewhere on the board. So he had to use a CP to re-roll that, so he didn't have the precision thing. And he was like, that's all right, it's Angron, right? It's Primarch. So he starts swinging into the Harlequins, and I was like, mate, without precision, you don't get it, you know? And so he was like, yeah, okay, we'll see about that. So I was like, cool, -1 to hit. So you've got 19 attacks with Angron when he's swinging. So like -1 to hit, you're hitting on 3, so about 12 hits. And then wounded on 2s, so you've got like 10 wounds. And I'm like, cool, so, you know, there's 5 invuns failed, and then, you know, there's an auto 4 pass anyway, just to make sure you don't get anywhere near. And then he was like, oh man, like, I can't kill 6 Harlequins with a Primarch. And yeah, like they're super. And then Yvraine's Flamer thing, that's like, it's not a flame, it's D6+3 shots. It's just, it's so good. It's insane. Like in the game against Vic, he brought, he had to shoot a unit of Shroud Runners and a unit of Warp Spiders into them just to kill the troop. Like that that shows how tough they are.
Yeah.
And then so they killed it, and I was like, oh, okay, that sucks because obviously you can't res a mod like you lot that's not there. But I was like, so Yvraine can see those Warp Spiders because you can see her. Like, you know, you can kind of just see the tip of her, and I was like, yeah, cool. So 6 mortal wounds, so they're dead. And then and then the next turn, like the Wraith Blades killed Fugan, and he rezzed up, and then she just walked out the ruin and went 7 mortal wounds. Okay, cool. Yeah. You only passed 2 feel no pains. Yeah, he's dead. and then she walked over onto a middle objective and went, oh yeah, those fire dragons over there. Yeah, they're dead. Like she's so cool. Like she can kill so much with just like, because it's anti-infantry 2+, dev wounds. So it's just 2s and 2s on whatever she goes into if it's infantry, and it's class. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah, she's well good. I've been on the receiving end a few times of her.
Yeah. I saw her as such attacks when I started, and then when she starts picking up 8-bound and like Fugan and all that lot for banter, like you realise that she'll earn her points back in pretty much every game easily.
That's good.
It feels like you've really shifted to that like traditional Aeldari model then of just, I'm going to trade better than you, I'm going to score more points than you, and you just cannot trade efficiently against these MSU builds, which, I mean, short of the big blob of Wraith Blades, which was bloody impossible to kill anyway, like I think, you know, that seems to be a really strong way to play them at the moment. We've had a couple of chats come in, and Dom, I think this one's probably going to come more to you, because I know you like your Drukhari. So, new thought from Darren: Sky Splinter, 10 mandrakes in a raider, get out, rapid fire, ignore cover, 20 strength 5 AP 1 dev wound shots, then charge, 31 attacks, strength 5 with lance AP 1, 130 points for the mandrakes plus the raider. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, you can do it, and you're probably fine doing it, but if someone works out that's your combo and they just one-shot the raider, like, and then mandrakes die, and I don't know, I think it's too much in like one package to really work, because raiders are so hard to hide at the moment, and they are unbelievably weak. Like, a stiff breeze, just like heavy bolters will just kill a raider. There's nothing really stopping anything in the game just from killing it. So like if that's your package and you're all in on that, come up against guard round 1, Manticore kills it straight away, Basilisk then kills everything inside. So I prefer them as in Drukhari itself. I prefer them as just like the going up, staying in the corners, going up and down, scoring your points, because without that, you're kind of reliant of just like trading stuff out there to die, where they can kind of go behind ruins and then go back up in the sky. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a cool strategy and it's quite cool. But I think you're probably just better just going in a different direction for if you want to be a bit more competitive with that.
Okay, fair enough.
So me and Manny had a couple of practice games when that Drukhari detachment first dropped, because Manny kind of loves his combat armies, so he was really excited by Drukhari and stuff. And then I'd never realised just how massive those boats are.
Yeah.
You can't hide them anywhere, especially on like a UKTC board. That's what we were testing on, because it's most of the time what you're playing at the moment until Glasshammer terrain takes over.
Yeah.
But like trying to hide it, on a board, it's so wide and it's so long and it's so tall. Yeah, you can't hide them anywhere.
Okay, so do you think that's maybe going to influence these Drukhari lists, that we're going to see a bit of a shift away from maybe the larger units, far more Venoms? Because one thing that we've been discussing a bit recently, and one thing that I'm not sold on, is 10 witches with Lilith. Now, obviously, on paper, the anti-infantry damage output is bonkers, and especially if they don't have it at Invan, they're just getting minced. But as soon as they go into something with an Invan, say Custodes, for me it was Azrael with the company vets, especially when they're -1 to wound, suddenly counters the lance. And I think Bulgrin yesterday as well with their -1 with their 4-up invulnerable save. They just didn't achieve as much as we would have thought.
I think people are playing witches wrong, if I'm totally honest, because I've been playtesting with them, and I'm also part of the Ruspus Raiders podcast, and people who are in the chat. I'm very like tuned in to what Drukhari is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
They're not damage dealers, the witches. They are just simply, you have no primary, because they can basically launch out like 20 inches. And then after they've attacked, they just go another 8 inches. And if they're witches, they can go in any direction. So then they can start tagging like vehicles, D-cannons, like taking primary off you. Like they're a turn 1 capture enemy outpost is what they are.
Okay. I mean that makes sense. That was kind of what Darren, who was actually in the comments, did to us yesterday with his witches. They came out of Strat Reserve because he wasn't playing Sky Splinter, he was playing the traditional one. And they jumped out, jumped onto the objective, but I think they ever so slightly.
They do absolutely nothing. They just scratch you. They just don't do anything. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the mistake, because the other time I played them was at Northampton, and I think my opponent was kind of gunning for blood because 5 Incubi and what's the name character that leads them? Drazar,
the Archon.
Yeah, it was Drazar, and they just bounced off Azrael and his mates.
Yeah. So the way you would do that is like you'd send Archon on 5 Incubi into a squad, which is, let's say, like 11 inches from a objective, or maybe you can probably do it a bit further. You activate first with the Incubi, and the witches are also in there as well. The Incubi then kill a lot of stuff, so then you pile in 3, and then you then spend your CP to just go 8 inches after that as well, and then another 3, and then you just basically just move block armies, you tag stuff, like, because then it's their turn and everything's in combat, which is a 4-up invuln in combat. So even on the slapback from like a tank, they're not going to die as much as like other stuff. So they're more of like if they're in the list and they're played properly, they're more like a torpedo to like get you points. Like that's the sort of way like they should be played. But They're still just
one thing though, on your watchers comment about the boat with the witches in it, or the mandrakes. What I've been thinking about with changes, if any I would make, any that I would make to the list. I think that rapid ingress is such a massive tool that is not used enough. And I think so. In my list, there isn't really anything that benefits from rapid ingress that much. So that's what I was looking to play around with, to put something in. But that boat, you can't hide it, and so that's a pain in the arse. But you could just put it in reserve, and you could just remind your opponent, yeah, it's more for rapid ingress, mate. And then they will just be absolutely crapping themselves for 3 turns, waiting for this, like just looking like. Because there's probably will be a spot where you can put that raider, and it might not be totally safe, but to be able to kill it, they might be able to take a chunk out of it in a space, but not kill it, and then your mandrakes can come out and do all that, and then so I think if you were to take it, that's if you did really like it and you wanted to do it, that's how I would do it. I would put it in reserve and just go, yeah, it's for rapid ingress, bud, and just it'll just haunt their dreams for 3 turns.
You could do it with a Tantalus as well, and it's even more, even more.
If you can't hide a raider on UKTC, imagine trying to just hide a Tantalus. How miserable would that be?
Tantalises are actually like a bit OP in a certain Drukhari build, where they just because they do their own tank shock when they charge you, then you tank shock, and then for every rack that is in the raider. Let's say 15 racks are in the Tantalus, you do a mortal wound on a 4+ for each one, 5+. So it's like on average with everything that goes in, it's like 12 to like 15 mortal wounds if you roll hot. It's not bad. No, it's max is like 6. Max is 18 mortal wounds, but yeah. It's quite interesting.
There's probably not many things that could stand up to 18 mortal wounds, and I know that's Magical Christmas Land, but still, like the damage potential there, just to get, because there might be those games where you have to do 18 mortal wounds to win the game, and it does just do it.
It is just massive, though.
Oh yeah. They're so spindly. That you are just going to have the problems. And I mean, like, even looking at those Scourges models, compare Scourges to Swooping Hawks, like the profiles.
Oh, yeah. They're a nightmare. So, do you know what I did? Because after the first couple of games, I was like, this could end up being an issue, because you're effectively moving 7 units with Fire and Fade. That's what you want to be doing. You want to be hitting them with 7 units and then coming back. So, I was like, time could actually be an issue here. So what I did was I took Scourges are on 32s, I think, and Shadow Spectres are on 25. So I took 15 32s and 15 25mm bases. And I was just like, most of the time, mate, they're going to go back to exactly where they are. So what I'll do is I'll just put these bases where they are, where I'm going to move them to. And then once I've shot them, I'll pick the bases up. Like, just to kind of show them, and that saved me loads of time. So I think that is a concern with that list. You've got to make sure that because if you go, I think Zach was saying if you go 3-0 in the first day, on day 2 you have to use a chest clock. You got no choice. So you've got to be able to push it.
Yeah, I suppose it's like another movement phase, isn't it? So if you're faffing around with all the wings are like getting caught and. Yeah,
they are a nightmare. But like even the Shadow Spectres, because they're just awkward, clunky models and stuff. Yeah, even they're horrible to move around. But like one easy thing which was quite good is, do you know in the UKTC you have the big L in the corner? In most games, I would line 2 lots of Shadow Spectres on the 2nd level down, because then all I do is I go, right, they're going to move up to the top, mate, and then once they've shot, they're going to drop back down. Because when they're on the top, they get plunging fire. So then they're AP3. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, that is a rule, yeah.
Does that make a Dark Lance AP5?
4, AP4, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's asked, and this is an interesting one. Would you ever leave the Scourges if they had the range to get the plus from heavy. So would you ever let them stand still?
Oh, stand them still.
Yeah.
No. Unless you were just winning the game anyway.
Yeah, I was
maybe. Yeah. If you're leaving Scourge, you stood still. You've already won, mate. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, that I think that's a very fair comment. What do you think about, because obviously map 3 and 4, it is very open, but it's also reasonably easy to manipulate. Not coming out into the open very much, but still having all of the objectives, especially on something like, I can't remember what the round 3 one is, but Scorched Earth. How did you find using the Scourges on a map like that?
Yeah, so it's so again, like the kind of what you're, the idea of the list is built around, I'm going to get 40 on secondaries. Like, you can't stop me. I will get 40. And then if I can get 10 every turn on the primaries with the Wraith Blades and then me holding my own, then I'm getting 90 points and there's nothing you can do about it. And then if ever it's only when you think, oh, actually, I might not win with 90 points. That's when you've got to start using tricks like the Warp Spiders going 36 inches in a turn and going, okay, yeah, you've only got 5 primary this turn. Now you can't score more than 90. Kind of using that. So I think in that mission, I was, I think we started playing, and then I don't think my opponent. I think it was Death Guard that I was playing round 3. I think it was Death Guard, and he didn't pull very good cards for the first couple of turns. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just, you can be the aggressor. I don't need to be. I'll just sit here. And then they kind of realised, oh yeah, okay, I do need to push, and then 10 Hawks just went and stood in front of the whole line. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's one turn. And then the next turn, 5 Shadow Spectres and 5 Warp Spiders went and stood in front of him as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I kind of see where this is going. And I was like, yeah.
So how do you, because obviously you're part of Glasshammer and you guys are doing your event, WTC scoring, for a little plug there, June the 29th and 30th in Birmingham. Looks like it's going to be a great event. Half the tickets already gone, so make sure you sign up. Absolutely. Do you feel like maybe you need to rejig the list a little bit more for WTC, or what's your feelings there?
Yeah, so funnily enough, that's exactly what I've been talking to Manny about recently. Is in that team's environment, it needs to push more. And I'm not sure, because it's not a list that will push those differentials. It's not designed to do that. So in the way to make, I think the Wraith Blades are what's holding that back, being a pushing list. So Manny especially feels as though you would drop the Wraith Blades, and then I think he's starting to play with. He's putting like Fire Dragons in a Wave Serpent, I believe is his list for this weekend that he's taking. But also as well, you could take something like the Avatar, again, and go, right, I'm just going to rely on my screens for the primary, and I'm going to ram the Avatar down your throat, and then I'm going to push all these Fire Dragons up there that can, after the Wave Serpent can move 14, then they can get out 3, and then they can start shooting and stuff like that. So I think that's how you could maybe swing it into a team's event to really push face.
Okay, so would you definitely go for kind of damage focused but push units? Because someone in chat has mentioned about Harley, actually, who I know plays quite a bit of Eldari, has mentioned adding more spiders. To the list.
So that's basically what I want to try, because I hate Shadow Spectres. I just don't see the point in them at all. Their movement is nice. That's my favorite thing about them. But traditionally, they won't. The way their stats are, their offensive stats, it won't do anything ever. So because it's flat 3 damage, so you kind of go, oh, I'd like to shoot a vehicle or a monster with that, but it's only strength 6, so you wounded them on 5, so you'll get 1, maybe 2 wounds. But then also, if you go, all right, then that's a bit rubbish at that, so I'll shoot a Terminator instead, because they're flat 3 damage, that's great. But then it's only -2. So then they'll definitely be in cover, because Terminators live in cover. So they'll be -1. Oh, okay, then you've popped Armor of Contempt. Cool, you've got a 2-up save against all my Shadow Spectres. They just, whatever they shoot into, they're rubbish. But it's a cool rule that it's free damage every turn. That's what I quite liked about them. But you get the cool movement with the spiders. So yes, I do agree with that. So the two kind of things that what I want to change is I want to drop like 2 units of specters for either more spiders or a falcon with the troop with a troop master, because they are just the ultimate Catan hunters. Like so they if you've got these Catans running forward at you, and then you go, cool, I'll rapid ingress with them, because then you've got a unit then that really benefits from rapid ingress. I'll rapid ingress this thing, and then they'll jump out, and I've got +1 to wound, because that's the Harlequin rule. The troop master's in there, so I'm giving them dev wounds, and then you just go, and then the Falcon's giving them full rerolls to wound into that Catan, because it'll target it with its catapult. And then you just throw loads of dice at it, and that's what the Catans don't like, right?
Yeah.
All your 6s are just bypassing that 4-up input straight away, but then all the other 5s that you're putting on it is 4s and 5s.
Interesting.
And then the troop master, if you put the enhancement on him, where you can turn a dice to a 6, but only the character can use it. So whenever you use a fate dice on him, it just becomes a 6, and he's got dev wounds. So you go, cool, that's 1 straight through, and then this one over here that's not a wound, I'll just turn that to a 6. So that's 2 straight through, plus whatever else he rolls, plus whatever else the rest of his troop rolls, and it's quite cheap, and it just screws Catans.
It sounds strong, and you've also got the fusion pistols as well for other stuff, don't you?
Yeah. Fusion pistols are quite nice. So you'd effectively have 3 fusion pistols in there as well, wouldn't you? So
yeah,
it's quite nice. But yeah, just shredding stuff with them, really.
Yeah, so another unit that's been mentioned in the chat that could be potentially quite interesting in terms of the movement nonsense, but also being quite survivable is the Beastmaster. And that feels quite tasty. Part of me does get a little bit like, oh, okay, we're starting to give up maybe potentially something easier on Assassinate. But what are your feelings, Dan?
So I've looked at the Beastmaster, and he is quite cool, and I do like him. And like a lot of people go, well, that's the easy trade there is the Shroud Runners, and everyone's like, why are you taking Shroud Runners? Everyone doesn't get it, but so basically what I found is with my old list I had the Autarch in there, and I got the 2 CP if I went first. So if I got behind enemy lines or whatever it was, I could go, I'll just fire and fade with this unit of Hawks, and it goes over there and does that. But the Shroud Runners are there, and they'll just go 9 inches straight forward, turn 1. And then if I go first, they can move and advance and get behind enemy lines, or deploy teleport homers, or investigate signals, or whatever. They're there to reach their deployment zone turn 1, so I don't waste a turn of cards, because I have to score 40. There's no messing around. If I don't score 40, I'm in danger of losing the game. So that's literally what they're there for. So and the Beastmaster, because they scout 9 as well. You could do that with them. I agree, but then the Shroud Runners, their special rule where they give lethal hits. So the rule's worded as all friendly units get lethal hits. So even the Scourges get it.
Ooh.
So there you go. Oh, okay, cool. I've got deployed teleport homers, and you've got a Tantalus that you can't hide. So I'm going to go over there and get 5 points for that. And then every 6 I roll to wound is taking chunks out of your big thing that stood there, So
that's nice.
Yeah. The Shroud Runners are nice. They're a cool little bit. And then also, if you play into Catans again, because it is a thing that people are taking them, you have to take for them. You don't put them forward, and you wait for it to come in the middle, and then you drive the bikes forward and go, right, lethal hits on everything. And then all of your Shadow Spectres start rolling the D6 blast profile and just fish for 6s. You go 6s are lethal hits, 6s to wound, 6s to wound, and you make them roll dice, and you can take chunks out of a Catan with that. Yeah.
I mean that feels like the right way to do it at the moment, and I imagine actually against maybe something like demons as well, because it seems that the greater demons have been a bit more on the up recently. I know we had Luke go 4-1 at Northampton with his demons list.
Luke, I'll tell you what, he's a great player, really good player with them. And then the game that we had, he was because this is my problem really is I get a few practice games in, but whenever I go to a tournament, sod's law is I've never played it before. So like I think I played Thousand Suns, and I was like I've never played pure Thousand Suns before, just on their own. And then Death Guard, I'd never played pure Death Guard either, and then Pure Demons I hadn't. So he was trying to explain all these things that they do to me, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. What kind of strats have you got, Luke? And he's like, oh, I've got a 3-inch deep strike strat, and I was like, oh no, it's Grey Knights all over again. So then I had to scream my ass off for 3 turns from these 75-point flamer units that are just from hell. They're just my nightmare. And he played them so well because he was like, I've played this Eldar matchup like 20 times. He's like, I know exactly how this goes. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'm completely in the dark. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. And like there were times where I thought, oh, he'll probably deep strike them over here. He'll kind of kill a few of them or kill that unit. And then he wouldn't. He'd deep strike them somewhere else and flame another unit. To me at the time, I was like, that seems like a bad choice. And then I realized I couldn't leave my L without getting overwatched and him just deleting a unit. And I was like, oh, I see what you've done there. That's very cool. I like that. So it was he played that so well. But it's just the demons are not the top of the meta at the moment. So
no, they're not the top, but they do seem to be getting a few more results. So I guess having the play into if they bring the big guys. And getting through those 4++s, that makes a fair amount of sense. So I think obviously we've gone through a lot of the normal rounds, what you played, as you went through the tournament. But let's talk about the shadow rounds, because first game, if I remember correctly, you had Vic who was on. Pure Aeldari MSU. So do you want to talk through that game?
Yeah. So like me and Vic, I've known Vic for a long time, and I know he's an awesome guy, and so the moment we got there, and then also I was kind of, I'd had a few beers already because I was at a tournament with Ed, so I was already a few beers deep, and I was like, I'd already given, I got excited giving away merch and stuff like that, and then so I bring loads of stuff and I give it out, and all of my score pads I'd just given out to everyone. So I got to the game and I was like, oh, I've got no score pads or pens or anything left. So I was like, yeah, you'll have to keep score, Vic. But from the start it was a good laugh, and but the problem is I had no idea of the score the whole way through, which is terrible advice, guys. Never ever do that. Because I was just completely in the dark the whole way, just pushing and pushing, trying to get the point. But we still had a laugh. I think it was. I was saying to Vic, I was like, whoever goes second here in whatever mission it was, you got a massive advantage for going second. I think you just got 15 points at the end if you went second. So, and I was like, mate, like I can roll once. I'm going second. Like I know I'm going second. And then he rolled a 5. And then I laughed at him and then rolled a 6. And I was like, oh, no. So because I ended up going first, I knew going second was so massive. I just had to play it aggro, like just play uber aggressive, and I had to wait for something to go wrong for him. That's pretty much all I could do. So, like, my Shroud Runners, normally, I push them 9 inches forward, before you find out whoever's going. So they were forward 9 anyway. So then I found if I went straight forward, I could get a line on his spiders. So they went forward and shot and killed like 3 spiders because I rolled pretty rubbish with them. And then the mandrakes, instead of sitting in the mid board, they pushed up and charged a unit of hawks. They completely fluffed it as well and killed 1 hawk. But then I also tagged the D cannon with the mandrakes, and then the shadow, the bikes, the Shroud Runners. They charged the Wave Serpent and tagged the D cannon as well. So I was like, and then my Wraith Blades just went, I was like, yeah, I'll use the 5. So then they just went 11 inches straight forward, like running towards the one flank. So I just had to play like really aggressive. Yvraine was in the middle, in the L and stuff like that. And then, so that meant he had to send spiders over to take the troop because he, Vic knows these kind of things. So he was like, yeah, I can't have you just sitting on that objective in the middle. But then his spiders died. There was a cool. So I knew there was a point at the back. I could position my D cannons in the middle, so I could cover my home one, the objective in the middle, and the objective on the right, which is where the Wraith Blades were. But there was a sliver, and I measured it. There was like a quarter of an objective where I couldn't reach with my D cannons on the left hand side, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's you are standing an autarch on that. There's no reason why you wouldn't. And so I had to position my spiders and a unit of hawks on the left. And I was like, as soon as anything comes onto there, the spiders are just rinsing it. And so he moved forward. The spiders went forward, killed his autarch, but then Vic got quite unlucky because they got up. The autarch got up, and then I fire and faded my spiders up against the wall. But then he only killed like one, and then the autarch charged in and only killed two, and then the spider exarch and the spider killed his autarch back the second time, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, you're the one rolling the twos, mate. Like, it's nothing to do with me.
You charged me. That's what you get. Yeah. Oh, I love it.
A couple of big swings there because sort of the Wraith Blades, I pushed them up on the right and I lined them up in like two perfect lines. Because with Phantasm as it is now, it used to just be 7 inches. You could be quite sloppy with it before, but now you have to pay so much attention to where you're putting models to make sure that if you want a Phantasm, you're rolling the lowest you can. So if you do Wraith Blades in two perfect lines, with a 4, you can get to the other side of the wall. So you just line them up against walls all the time. And so I did that, and then he moved all of his fire dragons out because that's what kind of takes them out, and Fugan. And I was like, Vic.
So
he goes, right, okay, shooting phase. So I was like, oh, so Phantasm phase, right? And he's like, oh yeah, that's fine. So I was like, if I roll a 4 on these Wraith Blades, none of your fire dragons or Fugan can see me, and they're all just going to stand there. And he was like, oh, yes, yeah. He's like, yeah, you're right, Dan. Yeah, they will. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I was like, I always. So this is my kind of curse with a Phantasm. I will roll a 2 every single time. I roll a 2, and it's quite consistent. And I rolled a 2, and I explained that to him. But when I'm shooting a D cannon, I will get 3 shots every single time. I will go 3 shots every time, and that's my that's my payoff. So yeah, I rolled a 2, and unfortunately, between these D cannons and the fire dragons, I was left with 2 Wraith Blades at the end of turn 1.
Jesus,
which was pretty brutal. But yeah, they survived to the end. At the end of the battle, the Wraith Blades were stood on his home objective.
Love it.
Like 4 Wraith Blades were on his home objective, and I was like, yes, boys, like legging it across the field. I love it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what was the final score in that game in the end?
I think it was 90 something to like mid 70s. So
okay.
I wasn't keeping score. Like it was quite awkward at the end because Vic was like, right, okay, then well I've done this, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and stand on this objective. And I was like, whoa, hang on. I was like, if I Phantasm over here and then I move and I use this fate dice on this, I could stop you getting that. And then you could see Manny like look at me, and Vic went, Dan, you've smashed this, mate. You don't need to go down to this kind of level. He's like, there's nothing I can do. You've already won. And I was like, what? I thought I was fighting for every point, like trying to win the game. And he was like, yeah. He's like, mate, you're 30 points in front. Like, I don't care about anything at this point. He was like, it's physically impossible for me to catch up with you. And I was like, oh, sick. Ed, another beer.
Yeah, that is the only one way to start a thing like that. It's funny you should mention that because I was literally talking to Paul, Thousand Suns Paul from Vanguard Tactics yesterday, and he always says if you've had a couple of beers and you just go into this like autopilot mode, and somehow it just means you play better. So I think we all need to be smashed by 8:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
we'll play perfect. ITT, right, fellas? We're all doing shots before we begin. How does that sound?
It's the reason why I'm in the hobby. There's nothing better than rolling dice, having a beer, and just having a laugh. That is what I don't need to do well. Manny goes and does well. That's his job. right? All I need to do, like, he reps the top tables, and I'm spreading the Glasshammer word amongst the mid tables.
You say coming second.
That's what I learned. But it's yeah, like, you know, I've always like played Eldar as like MSU, and it's never suited them. That's never been their thing. And now all of a sudden it does. It suits their play style, and you know, and it also just turns out because I like the idea of skewing into a complete infantry list because you can see the meta is becoming quite mech heavy.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm like, there's gonna be so many big guns like roaming around, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Fire your last cannon to my unit of scourges, and the sergeant will die. Like, that's fine, rather than taking 8 wounds off, you know, off a falcon or whatever. So so that's what I've tried, is to nullify like everybody's big heavy hitters by going all infantry. But then it just turns out that my all infantry list just smashes vehicles with all of their anti-tank guns and all that kind of stuff. It's worked out quite well for them in the meta, I think.
Okay, now that's an interesting spot there. But what I do, we're going to go a little bit away from the playing of it itself, because something I did notice was that you Glasshammer guys were laughing most raucously throughout the entire event, and we've got one of your round 4 opponent in chat saying how much fun it was with the beers. Which round 4 starts at what is it, 9 o'clock in the morning?
Oh yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. You degenerate.
Don't waste any time.
No, not at all. As soon as that bar opens, you're like, fellas, beer. But yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that side of the hobby. Glasshammer seems like quite a fun. What's the ethos in Glasshammer? What do you guys sort of? If someone had never heard of Glasshammer, what are you guys all about?
Yes, I mean, you know, because we did content and everything for years, and you know, we've played. Like, I met Manny when we were both playing for Team England, so you know, we've both kind of played at the high levels and stuff like that. And it's just, you know, once you've won a couple of tournaments, or once you've started doing well, you realise that you don't want to ever win a game by being gamey or by not telling your opponent rules, or you know what I mean? Like, you want to win by playing better than them, or you know what I mean? Like, enjoying your army. You want to outplay someone, and you feel as though you've really earned your win. So I wouldn't, you know, and it's a big thing. You know, we've said to people have asked before, you know, can I use Glasshammer as a team name? And we've said no, because you know, we want to make sure that if you are repping Glasshammer, it's just, you're just playing the game. You know, you do want to play competitively, and you want to play at a top level, but you can do that and not be an arsehole. You can be a nice guy, and you can, and that's what it's all about. It's not about the wins, and when you get the wins, they've got to mean something, you know. And then, it's all pretty laid back, man. It's all pretty chilled out. And like I said, team tournaments are the best, because it's just, and again, like, you know, it could be seen as the other way, but there is so much ridiculing going on the Glasshammer team. Like, the only reason I go to team tournaments is to wait for David to make a mistake and go, oh yeah, I can get 15, and then he kind of mopes over and he goes, oh gosh, you will not believe what just happened. Oh, the dice were so bad. And then he just, it's great, because like, whoever scores the least points at a team event is then known as the worst player in Glasshammer until the next team event.
Like, who's the current?
It's David.
Oh, bless him.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious going to a team tournament with David. It's really cool. But yeah, you know, that's what I mean. Like, it's all pretty chilled out and relaxed, and there's a lot of people get surprised, you know, when they come into the chat and stuff. There's a lot of banter, but it's all done in you know, a friendly way. Like, if we're taking the piss out of you, it's because we love you. Right?
Yeah,
if we're not taking the piss out of you, then you need to be worried.
That's the thing, because you know, it was obviously we've interviewed Manny before, but I'd not met him in person before that, and so Northampton was my first experience of meeting in person. Meet yourself personally as well, and I was only with you guys for about 5-10 minutes, but it was just laughter non-stop, and you two mostly just ripping the piss out of each other.
Yeah.
So it was just a lovely way of seeing how top level players, you know, both Team England players, just kind of have a bit of a laugh at these tournaments, because my least favorite thing is experiencing people that take toy soldiers or war Barbies too seriously.
I know, right? I just don't get it. I really don't. And you know what? And it's the thing is as well. What I find is it is such an incestuous hobby in the fact of someone could go to a tournament and be a complete knob the whole time, and then give it like 48 hours. Everybody in the country knows that this guy is a complete knob.
Yeah,
like it word spreads so quickly, and you will, if you behave like that, everybody will know it in a very short space of time, you know. And I love it about it, because it kind of keeps those players at bay. Some of them get away with it a little bit longer than others. I won't name any names, but their day will come. Their day will come.
Yeah, I think it's surprising to see how well the hobby kind of self-polices. I think, you know, ultimately we do, and I think it's a little bit because nerds probably have experienced that, you know, growing up in school and things like that. We've probably not experienced the best of treatment, so we kind of, when we get to our adult life, we just care so little about having those negative experiences with people when we're trying to relax and things like that. It's really positive to see that self-policing. So and if you've ever got any problems, you can give any of us a call and we'll go and shout at someone, personally, especially me, because I love shouting at you.
This is it. So I kind of I was a very, very nerdy child, which is obviously why I was playing Warhammer, but then I quickly found rugby and beer. So then I went to a very kind of confrontive environment and all that lot. So I can sit in the most awkward of situations for hours on end. Like, I genuinely consider that's my superpower. So if someone is a prick in a game, I will just relish making their life hell for 3 hours. Like, I can do it so well. I will play my entire game stood on their side of the table. And I will just stand there right next to them for the whole game.
Are you the Joe Marler of Warhammer?
Oh my god! Right, that's going to be an edit. We'll do that.
Like, absolutely no problem whatsoever. And I will question every rule. Oh, so how far have you moved then? There, have you 7 inches? Are you sure they moved 7 inches, mate? Can you show me that rule? Can you show me that rule, please, mate? I'll run my clock down. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it.
Honestly, I love it when people do that, because like there are some people. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced it, and you know, we don't want to see that at all. Let's be honest.
No.
So
I
feel
as though these people, they don't get their comeuppance today, because, you know, people don't like the confrontation and they go, oh, okay, yeah, fine, you know, whatever. But I'm like, no, I'll meet you. I'll match it and I'll go above it.
Yeah,
come on, mate, let's go.
that's the thing, and like that, sometimes that's all it takes, is it? And luckily, I've not had many scenarios where I've had to do it, but like when I have had to get a little bit spicy with people a couple of times, it's just usually they realise that they've behaved a bit like a dickhead and back down pretty quickly. So it sucks
exactly
to have.
I find that,
yeah, that little bit of confrontation, but people do back down. So like, if I think you do experience anything like that, just a little bit of standing up against them, and usually they'll back down. And if they don't, call one of us over again, and we'll just come and call them a cunt. So it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's great. But like you say, it's I don't know whether a lot of them, and like you say, there is very, very few of them, because I feel as though when they do come in, they get that reputation, and people just don't want anything to do with them, and they pick up on it and they leave very quickly. They leave the hobby. But then, so like, but as soon as you do, you kind of mirror them, and they go, "Oh yeah, this is awful. This is crap. I don't like this." And then they kind of, like you say, they realize very quickly, let's not do this. Like, this isn't a fun game.
Yeah, right. Well, I think is that hopefully that's helped lots of people. But I think there's one thing that I want to do before we go, which is, well, actually two things. First of all, I'm going to mention our wonderful sponsor, Terrain Forge, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. They make beautiful bespoke terrain with wonderful logos. They can do it to your own personalized sizes, everything like that. It's absolutely gorgeous. Lots of fun to play on, especially if you're a combat army, because it can be a little bit bigger. So really, really nice if you like infantry. So Dan, I'd like to see how you would find that one in terms of lots of hiding. Maybe you could have run a little bit further away from the custodies in that final. But really great terrain. So do check out Terrain Forge. And then guys, I think from Dom and Dan, I would love your like zeitgeist of what you think the meta is going to look like over the next couple of months. Just literally like a sentence. Don't overthink it. Just go for it.
Oh god.
Dom's overthinking it. So Dom, you've got to go first.
I mean, I don't know, because the armies I think that should be doing like well aren't doing well, and we were discussing earlier about like how some armies like Guard, I picked up Guard recently, so I'm really getting the hang of them. But like, is there a level where they become good, or is it? We don't know, and there's so like they've got like a 41% win rate or something like that.
Are Guard good? Guard are broken.
Yeah, but like, why are we not seeing every event won by Guard then? It's so weird. It's like maybe they're just
it's those top players being asked to paint 60 cardsmen and 7 tanks. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And also in traditional GW fashion, I guarantee you can't buy a Manticore or a Basilisk or a Bullgrin for less than 150 quid on eBay right now.
Yeah,
probably right.
I guarantee that.
It's all there for
the restocking is just a joke. Yeah, it's gonna like the meta is vehicles. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be Manticores. It's going to be that stupid Black Templar vehicle crappy ass list.
It's
got Redemptors and 5 Gladiators and all that crap. And it's going to be Dreadknights running around trying to kill those vehicles and appearing, in front of your lines and stuff like that. That's what I think the meta is going to be.
Well,
okay.
Well,
and Necrons. Obviously,
Necrons.
Yes, Necrons just everywhere. Just everywhere. And do you know what the thing is? So at the moment, I'm very much building into killing Catans because that's where people are going. I keep seeing lists with like 3 Catans, and people are like, "Oh, you can get 5 in," and I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Please just put as many Catans in there as you can." Because the moment that Necron players realise that the strongest list has 0 Catans, I am absolute. Eldar as a general is just completely ballsed. The list with no Catans in it just ruffle stomps Eldar into the ground so hard, like don't even bother deploying.
Do you think Custodes are because everyone's taking now for vehicles now, which is a lot of like 3 damage and high weapon stuff? Do you reckon that's going to hurt Custodes?
I think Custodes are at the whim of terrain. I think if it's really, really heavy boards, they'll do well. And any time, because they're so slow as well. And I do think people as well, like they are quite good, but the moment people realise that they're very slow and you just screen them, you just keep running things in front of them, then I don't think there's, but that final game that I had with Manny, yes, okay, I agree, he passed a lot of saves, but you never want to blame it on the die. So I was kind of going back over it in my head, and I was like, I could have just screened for 2 turns more, and then even if he does push forward, and that's when he comes through, and that's when he passes all his saves. It's probably an insanely close game at that point. So I think Custodes will fade out quite quickly onto the mid boards, and
it'll be Thousand Suns and Grey Knights coming up, right? I think because Grey Knights they're popular, but they're quite complicated. So I know Chris Cannonier has been messing around with them a lot. So I think it's probably going to be Necrons a lot. I think Custodes are going to drop off. Then Thousand Suns, they had no buffs, but yet they're still incredible. They just were being gatekept by CSM. Yeah. And then we see Black Templars, Eldari still amazing, and then probably Tau.
Yeah, Tau, especially with Riptides feel
160 points. Ugh.
That's
yeah,
a bargain, that, isn't it?
it's ridiculous. And like even though there's you just do one crisis blob now, Riptide damage output's good, broadside damage output's great.
Do you
and
know
they
what's an
can
underrated unit in Tau? Freaking Ghost Keels.
Yeah,
How have
I
you got
hate
a
them.
toughness 9 thing with a 4-up invuln that's a lone up?
I know.
That's
The load
mental
up
to
thing.
me, that is.
go on, get close.
And it forward deploys.
Yeah, it forward deploys. They're very underrated. They are. They're a mental unit, I think.
Yeah. And I think, especially like you were talking about the Wraith Blades being that unit, is like, I'm going to sit on this objective, I'm going to score 10, and then they can build armies that just go, I will homers in your deployment and cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty happy days.
Yeah.
So they'll get their 90 quite easily between those two, between a Ghost Keel and the fixed secondary. So yeah, I think Tau could be in a great spot. Right. Well, we have gone. We turned our 2 sentences into 10 minutes of conversation, which, to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to complain about, because that was very interesting to hear from you guys. What I do want to end on is, Dan, give you the full opportunity to just promote everything Glasshammer, everything that you do, and if there's anything you want to tell us about.
Oh yeah, this is a great segment. All right then. Okay, yeah, Glasshammer. So we do like 20% off as a discount as a standard, so it's pretty cheap. And then you get free delivery over 95 quid. But then if you join the Elite, you get 10% off everything. And I guarantee you it's going to be the cheapest product in the UK, because it's basically at cost for us. So with the free shipping and the Elite, it's just the cheapest product you can ever get. And then we're doing the Glasshammer events now. The Birmingham one that is in at the end of June is only the first. And it's going to be ace, because we've actually got like loads of prize support and all that kind of stuff. There's loads of stuff going into that. And, and like I said before, like there is a painting standard. However, me and Manny can't paint. So we won't judge you too hard on that, but we will judge you very, very hard on the sportsmanship. If there are any knobheadery going on at those events, they'll leave. They won't be there, guys. I promise you, they won't. They're just gone. And
I love that.
What else do we do? Oh, the Glass House. Yeah, if you're in Shropshire, come to the Glass House, because there's loads of tables. We're fully booked pretty much all the time, so you can go on and book a table, and you're going to be surrounded by nerds. And there's a bar, and you can order food in. So there's literally just a row of Just Eat drivers coming outside the Glass House. So everyone's having a laugh, eating the food they like, drinking beer, and playing toy soldiers.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic. I mean, I think that was a very good little promotion there. We'll make sure that we pop up the link to the Glasshammer GT. I think there's going to be a lot of Black Crows there in force, partly because it's my birthday, but I think we're all going to.
Nice.
Yeah, it's my birthday on the Sunday, so
wicked. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so really looking forward to that tournament. I think we're all going to have a really good laugh. Lots of guys coming together, hopefully. So looking forward to that massively. Hopefully, we'll see lots of people there as well. And it is WTC scoring, so it will be ever so slightly different to the UKTC events that we used to do.
In that.
Yeah. And I think people will like that, as Manny has already discussed in one of our earlier podcasts. It will be really good in terms of avoiding those armies that maybe don't do so much interaction, which I think is only good for the game.
And not so much talking games out, which is a bit too relaxed, I think.
Yeah. Okay, which I think we've got quite a firm view on talking games out in this podcast. So it's not something that we like to see at our events at all, really. So that's really good to hear. What we're going to do now is we're going to finish up, and we're going to say thank you so much to Dan for coming on. We really, really appreciate your time.
No, guys, thank you for having me, man. I will talk to Eldar with anyone that I can talk with about Eldar to, and they don't roll their eyes. That's a great evening for me. So
right.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I only rolled my eyes like 5 times, I promise. The camera was hiding it. It's fine. I've got really small eyes, so you can't really see it even. So it was a real pleasure, Dan. So, and thank you for giving us that insight into what probably will be the new meta. And Dom, it is always a pleasure, and a huge shout out to our rather sick boy Aaron, who is in the background helping out and making sure that this runs as well as it could. And thank you everyone so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Please do join the Discord. All the links are in the section below, so do please check that out for us. For everyone that's in the chat, thank you so much for interacting. We couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you so much. And I've been Toby, and we'll see you later.